Hey gang, let me tell you about a set of EPs just released from Austin Music Foundation's Artist Development Program Year 4. It's called ATX Gen Next, Adventures in Lockdown, Sides A and B, and they're available now at austinmusicfoundation.bandcamp.com for only $5 a piece. The EPs feature songs from Austin Music Foundation's Artist Development Program Year 4 members Drint, Aubrey Hayes, DZ Brown, Stone Wheels, and Pelvis Wrestling. Your $5 donation will help AMF continue leading the way in producing innovative career-advancing programs, including the Artist Development Program. Every dollar over the suggested donation will go directly to these worthy artists. So get out there and pick up Gen Next, Adventures in Lockdown, Sides A and B from Austin Music Foundation's Artist Development Program Year 4. Let's get down. Hey gang, are you new to this podcast? Have you subscribed on Spotify, Stitcher, or Apple and realized that you can only access the 20 most recent shows on these platforms? Do you, my friend, want to binge on How Did I Get Here? Well, you can listen to every show that we've ever put out on the Podbean app. That's right. Go to your app store, look up Podbean. You can also find all of your other favorite shows on there. Has tons and tons of shows. But you can go back through our archives and listen to conversations with Sweet Spirit, Zeely, The Wind and the Wave, Ray Wiley Hubbard, Marcia Ball, Moving Panoramas, Dana Falconberry, Quiet Company, Dwight Twilley, The Bluebonnets, and literally hundreds and hundreds, over 1,000 podcasts of just How Did I Get Here on there. Not to mention all of your other favorites. Just download the Podbean app from your app store and start listening today. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host, Aubrey.
When we talked,
All right. Hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you're having a good week so far. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I know that there's probably a lot of new listeners coming to the show today because one of our guests is from the great country of Canada. So there's new people listening to the show. My name is Johnny Gowdy. I'm a musician. I live in Austin, Texas. I've been doing music since I was a kid. And I started this podcast 9.5 years ago where I talk to musicians and just kind of talk about their life, basically answering the question, how did they get here? I put up 1,025 shows, conversations with people from here in Austin, people from all over the country, and people from all over the world. As I said today, our conversation is with Luke Bentham from the band Dirty Nil. They're Canadian. They have a brand new album called Fuck Art. That's out right now. It came out on January 1st. You can find them at thedirtynil.com. This band is incredible, man, and he's really a fascinating dude. They won the Juno for Breakthrough Group of the Year in 2017, and the Juno is a Canadian Grammy. They played 350 shows in 3 years up until 2020. They've opened for The Who. And Luke is a painter, guitar collector, songwriter, musician, and performer, obviously, but also a podcast host. And he has a podcast called Born to Roam. I listened to the episode where he talks to his producer, John Goodmanson. Fantastic, fantastic show. So go to thedirtynil.com, check out their album, Fuck Art. But before we talk to Luke Bentham from The Dirty Nil, I talked to my dear friend, Aubrey Hayes, who was part of Austin Music Foundation's Artist Development Program Year 4, which we are just kind of like wrapping up. But the singles that they got to record with A&R Peterson and with Frenchie Smith over at the Bubble here in Austin are available now. The EPs are called ATX Next Gen Adventures in Lockdown, Sides A and B, and they're available at austinmusicfoundation.bandcamp.com. You can pick them up there. Your donation goes and supports great programs that the Austin Music Foundation has. They do great webinars. They do great panels on stuff. They do classes on different aspects of the music business. And of course, the Artist Development Program, where we take 5 to 7 artists every year and put them through the paces of learning about their business, but also learning about their craft and learning about their artistry and going into the studio and recording with A&R Peterson and Frenchie Smith. And this year, our class was Drint, DZ Brown, Stone Wheels, Pelvis Wrestling, and of course, one of my guests today, the amazingly talented Aubrey Hayes. I first saw Aubrey Hayes a couple of years ago. She was opening for my friend Daisy O'Connor at the Cactus, and I was floored by Aubrey's performance. I invited her to come on the show, and I've always been I think that people that know her and know her music are fascinated with it. She's an incredible artist. She is a wonderful, wonderful person, and I always enjoy talking to her. And her songs Statue and I Want to See This Through are available on ATX Next Gen, Adventures in Lockdown, Sides A and B, available at austinmusicfoundation.bandcamp.com. All right? Aubrey and I have a great conversation about her experience in the Austin Music Foundation Artist Development Program and what she's up to now. Aubrey's an incredibly devoted person to her community. She spends a lot of time working on social issues and things that can help make the world a better place. Always a great pleasure to talk to Aubrey Hayes. So before we talk to Luke Bentham from the Dirty Nil, let's talk to Aubrey Hayes. Let's get down. Aubrey Hayes, what a great talent. Have you been hanging in there okay since the new year?
Yeah, I can't complain too much. I feel like a new year, new vibe, hopefully more growth and restoration this one around.
Yeah, it was it doesn't, like, there was this feeling that like the new year was going to come and all of a sudden there was going to be like the unveiling of like the old world again, but it's not really happening that way. But are you staying busy and staying creative in writing?
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like lately I haven't been writing a ton, but I've been fine-tuning some stuff that I wrote last year.
Right.
So no, definitely finding ways to be creative, and then also just acknowledging that creativity is so much more than just what I do in my music. I also love to dance. I love cooking. Like last night I made some roasted tomatoes and garlic in this big old cast iron pan and put in a whole bunch of creative seasonings. And, that's creativity too. And I feel like sometimes we can limit ourselves in what we think of as creativity. But
they kind of feed each other. I find that when you have another discipline to practice, it inspires the other one. Like the cooking can inspire the open up something in the music that you weren't able to open up before. For sure.
I think that's really true. I've been kind of obsessed with dancing and finding these certain songs that I love, like actually classic country. I was doing some ballet to that the other day. I was doing some modern to some Donny Hathaway. So, whatever.
Yeah. Well, man, what a great job you did on these songs. I Want to See This Through and Statue. And talk to me about it. Like I Want to See This Through has this amazing horn line. Who arranged that? Was that you? Or the horn players?
Kind of a combo effort. Sam Howden, he came to a few rehearsals after my whole band had kind of practiced these songs for a while, and usually with Sam, he comes in and he's like, what kind of thing do you want here? And I hum him something, but it's not the exact thing that he'll play. So something like this, like and he's like, okay, go off and do that. So just a really organic process. I kind of prefer it that way.
Yeah. And talk to me about recording these songs. Like you have a band. And so go ahead.
Oh, I do. I just, right now it's Taylor Turner, who's my bassist and partner in crime / life. Ethan Ames, he's been on guitar doing that crazy solo at the end that just has so much life to it. Sam Howden is my trumpet boy, and then Nick Manka on drums. And I mean, they're fantastic dudes, and we get along great. And I feel like we've found a groove in our rehearsal space. So, which is outside right now.
Did he have the horns arranged for I Want to See This Through on like before you went in to record, or?
We had a trumpet line,
Right,
and then had ideas of like a harmonized part, you know.
right.
But I don't think it was set in stone when we came in necessarily.
Okay, so how much pre-production did you guys do for these two songs before you went in? Like,
How that kind of worked is we did 2 cell phones on either side of the rehearsal space. So one kind of close to the drum and the bass, and then one was close to me, my keyboard, my vocals, Ethan playing guitar, and then Sam somewhere playing trumpet. I don't remember.
right.
And so smash those 2 cell phone recordings together, and then kind of, took those 2, smashed them together, put them in the closet, and then worked with other stuff, other textures and colors that I wanted to add into it. I feel like a majority of the arrangement was there before we came in, and then Frenchie with his crazy plugins and all that kind of stuff, like whirly gigs and shit like that. And then A&R suggesting recording stuff through microphonic pickups at one point. It was a cool process for sure.
Yeah, it's an amazing. I mean, both of the songs sound amazing, and I love the chaotic noise intro of the of Statue.
Yeah. I remember I came in and I was like, guys, there's going to be a noise intro. They're like, oh, God, don't do a noise intro. And I'm like, no, I promise you, we got to play this noise intro. You have to hear it once. And they're like, wait, this is good. Okay.
Right. So what all, you talked about Frenchie and A&R and bringing in these ideas to do different things. What else, what do you feel like they brought to the table that you wouldn't have been able to bring yourself?
So one of the things that Frenchie and I talked about a lot was the Odyssey and the Oracle. And I literally like the vibe of that album and everything like that. And he knows a lot about the production side and what they did to kind of make it happen. And so I think us kind of having this like geek out moment in our pre-production meeting really lent itself well to the process, because he kind of understood where my head was at and like kind of this balance between pop rock and psychedelic rock and all this other stuff. So it was cool to have somebody that was that obsessed with like the production side of it, right? And yeah, I'm glad that I had the dudes behind me that I did with the band set up, because I felt we were well rehearsed and we came in and we did the thing, and then everything else just got to add color,
Right.
Which was so cool and just not something I've ever experienced before. It was just awesome. And then A&R is just like good vibes central, I think. He's a cool dude to talk to. He knows a lot. He knows what he's talking about. He helped. I sent the songs over to him, and he kind of helped cut and paste a few different sections here and there, like maybe try this or this chord change here instead of going back to the A part of the song. And so having somebody not necessarily like saying like, okay, this is what you have to do, but saying like, oh, maybe try this. It may not be something you thought of, was a cool thing too.
Yeah.
It sounds very like layman's terms, like, oh, that was cool. It was.
I mean, there's only one way you can really describe it, and I mean, those guys, it's. I think that what you guys worked on together, I feel like it's really strong. Whatever you guys each brought to the table was really strong. Can you talk a little bit? I know that in past years, and I've talked about this with some of the other people, in past years, a lot of these meetings that we have and stuff like that have all been in person, and that would lend itself to the artists in the artist development program ending up having their own relationships outside of through us. You know what I mean? Through me, A&R, and Alex. But with the exception of that and being able to have like actual classes, I know that we've done some online stuff and we've tried to get some online stuff going through Zoom and stuff. But can you speak on what the maybe what you got out of the program outside of just the recording of the 2 songs?
Well, I've enjoyed the encounters I've had with Ben from Pelvis. Checked out their show at the Domain when that thing was happening, and it was a pretty safe experience. And then Ben actually invited me to go do something with Big Bill Band a few weekends ago, and so we did like another kind of outdoor recording thing. So there's been a little bit of getting to know at least Ben.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, it's been a little weird because I feel like we all know what each other are doing, but I don't know them super well or talk with a lot of them. But just kind of like the year, it's hard to make new friends like over Zoom,
Right.
when there's not already like an established connection there. But luckily, I feel like at least with the Austin Music Foundation folks like you, I've met you several times in person. I've met A&R. A&R was like the first initial consultation I ever did when I figured out what Austin Music Foundation was, like 3 or 4 years ago. So I am grateful for the in-person stuff that's happened, but the workshops have been interesting as well.
That's good.
I hope that answer the question.
No, you did. I'm just trying to get sort of a sense. This is going to be a big show with everyone from the program in it, kind of talking about their experience and their tunes and stuff. And obviously it'll drop the day of this. The podcast is the day that the next singles will come out, side B. So and I'm very excited about it, man. We've gotten some really good feedback. You guys all brought in really great material, and and I'm a huge fan of your songwriting, and I'm a huge fan of your musicality. Is that the way to say it?
I think that's a word.
Yeah, whatever song comes out of you naturally, I really love it. From the first night I ever saw you, so it's been great to be able to be in touch like this and kind of be able to loiter and hang out a little bit at a couple of the sessions. But yeah, this has been great for me, and I'm a huge fan of yours, and hopefully the word will be spread. Did I tell you I was doing a podcast with Curtis McMurtry?
Oh, yeah.
And I was asking him who he listened to, and you were a person that he's into.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm also into Curtis. Curtis has a new
record
thing, Toothless Messiah.
Fantastic record, man. Gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
no, they're a cool person. I actually do D&D with them over Zoom.
Oh, you do?
Curtis and Diana, they're in our Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a halfling bard. Curtis is I forget. What is Curtis? He's a half-orc? No, that's wrong. I forget what Curtis is, but I know Diana is a tabaxi, which is a cat person. So,
well, that's good. I have no idea what any of the shit you just said means. In the early days of D&D, I went to a guy's house, and it was too many dudes for me. I was like 14, and I was like, I like a little more female energy in my jam, and not in a dude's basement.
I definitely was the only one in my high school group, the only girl, and I had to like quit the group because I was just getting like hit on by nerdy dudes.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You be the girl in that group. Jesus, man, my Lord.
Yes.
Let me ask you this: Do you have any plans to do any sort of live streaming, live shows, any kind of thing on the horizon?
I am working on it. I just moved to a new house with Taylor, actually. Mm-hmm. So we moved in together, and we're going to set up a music studio room. Our housemate, Kate, just moved here from Ithaca, New York. She's done some music production in the past, too. So we'll have a full hands on deck kind of moment.
Killer.
With, that stuff. It was kind of impossible in my last house. Not impossible, but very difficult.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to having that all set up. But yeah, I will keep you posted on that.
Please do. As always, I'm excited to hear new music from you. I'm a fan, and I'm glad we're friends.
Shit. No, I do have something coming.
Oh, well, what do you have?
Have you heard of Small Songs?
Nope.
They're a little like music. They kind of do acoustic music videos. Pelvis did one through them. Lolita Lynn just did another one through them. I'm actually going to sing background on her record.
Oh, cool.
I have to record this afternoon. But the Small Songs things are coming out on February 12th and February 14th. And I think the Instagram, let me check. I think it's just Small Songs and then like an underscore at the end.
Okay.
So at Small Songs and then an underscore.
Okay.
Yeah, and they do. It's cool. It's this husband and wife family. They have like husband, wife, and their baby are traveling around the United States in a van, and so
you go in and play.
He finds a place for you to play, so he goes out and I think he scouts the location.
Oh, cool!
But the films they're really beautiful. They're like he has his own specific like editing style, and they seem like little mini films.
That's awesome.
Just a music video. It's really cool. You should definitely check it out. But February 12th, I have a brand new tune coming out through there that I'm hoping to record sometime later this year. And then February 14th, I believe, is when my acoustic version with that group comes out for Isn't It Enough, which is the single that I already have out on Spotify.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so you got a bunch of stuff coming down the pike.
Yeah, I should prepare better for these things to be like, yeah, these are the things.
That's all right. I'm sorry I was late, but it was great catching up with you, and I'll put links to all your stuff on here, and people can check out Statue, which drops the day that this comes out. It'll be on the Bandcamp thing, and I'll have links to all of that. But thank you so much for being a part of the program this year, and I know we still got some more stuff to do, but it's been a pleasure working with you.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been a cool experience.
Yeah. Well, have a great day. Thanks again for doing the show.
Thank you.
Bye, Aubrey. The amazing Aubrey Hayes. I love her. She is fantastic. She's such a brilliant artist, such a great songwriter, and such a great musician, too, man. She's a fantastic musician. Go check out those songs, Statue, and I Want to See This Through, available at austinmusicfoundation.bandcamp.com. And follow Aubrey on all the socials. She's a great person. She's a great social media person, too. I never even mentioned that. There's some people that really have a knack for that thing, and they're not annoying, and they're not, like, over posty or weird posty. She's very good at that. It's an odd thing to say someone's good at, but she is very good at it. Check out Aubrey Hayes, a wonderful, wonderful artist. All right, let's talk to Luke Bentham from Canadian band The Dirty Nil. Their brand new album, Fuck Art, is available now. It came out on January 1st. You can find them at thedirtynil.com. Of course, as I said before, they won Breakthrough Group of the Year at the 2017 Juno Awards, which are the Canadian Grammys. You can also join their Patreon. It's called the Millionaires Club. Fantastic conversation, man. This dude's super fascinating and very, very cool. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Luke Bentham from Canadian band The Dirty Nil. Let's get down. You're in Toronto?
Near there, yeah. I'm in Hamilton,
okay.
Ontario. Yeah.
Dude, I love your record and your music.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, man, I listened to the episode of Born to Roam with John Goodmanson because I was like, oh, this is the guy that works with them, so that might be a good insight and good preparation for this. But it was great. That was a great episode, man.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it. That was, I guess, that was right before we were, right before we started tracking the record. Right after you just, flown in from Seattle, and this whole COVID thing was really beginning, I guess, in a real way in North America. It was still kind of, we still thought we were going to be able to complete our record on schedule, but it got bungled. He had to go home basically right after we had finished the drums and the bass. He had to catch the last flight out of Toronto to Seattle. So
did you guys have to end up recording the rest of it yourselves, or?
Yeah, well, basically, I had to drive him to the airport, and then the studio owner said to me that you can either pause this, or you can try and just work with the engineer and get the guitars done, but you have 48 hours. So I said, well, we're going to do that. So we locked ourselves in the studio, just me and the engineer, and it was the most extreme musical experience I've ever had in my life. It was both awesome and fucking terrible. There's a limit to how long you can just focus and concentrate on something. And, I remember at one point on the second day, I remember turning to him and I just asked him hey, is this good? Is this, and he's just I don't know. He just,
yeah, at that point you're just numb.
Yeah, we both of us had completely lost our ability, our critical thinking skills. It was just mush. And it was our process allowed that to happen in that way. We weren't experimenting. When we go to the studio, we just go to lay it down. We've already done all the work. We do a lot of practicing and blasting away in a concrete jam space. We sort it all out. So there's not really any kind of building. We don't build songs in the studio. We work hard in an analog team way, and then we go in there to execute and lay something down. I'm not really much of a studio body. I'm not. I'm a little bit more blue collar about my approach in those kinds of things. I don't like to waste money and time in a recording studio. I'd rather spend the blood, sweat, and tears in the jam space, in the rehearsal space, and then book as little studio time as possible. And then not when you play electric guitar based music in the 21st century, I think you've got to have some kind of budgetary mind, so that's just how, but I only say that because because of the way that we work and how prepared we were, it allowed us to be able to do all the guitars in 2 days. But if I was unsure about anything, I don't think I would have been able to get it done. But it was as I said, my brain went just numb. I remember at one point we had maybe one or two songs left to do, and I shouldn't say that every single thing was nailed down. I always have a little bit of room for experimenting, with doing some things in the studio. But I remember there's a song on a new record called "To the Guy Who Stole My Bike."
Yeah.
And we had done the rhythm tracks for it, and I just did I didn't know what to do over top of it. I didn't really have a solo or any kind of thing, and I remember I just said I just need to take a break, and I just went and sat down in the tracking room, this giant beautiful tracking room, and just laid on the carpet and just I almost could have cried. I was so tired, and just so exhausted. But I remember I actually called my mom, and I was just like, "How's it going? I just need to talk to somebody." and we just kind of talked about the dog for 5 minutes, and then I went back in and then recorded the solo. So that was the only thing that I really kind of made up on the spot of the record. The rest of it was all, we blasted away on it and pre-produced the hell out of ourselves. John was very complimentary towards that.
That's good. Is he part of the pre-production? Does he come in and do the rehearsal jam space with you guys a little bit?
Well, he did it at the very end. I mean, we did 3 days of pre-production right before we went into the studio. That's actually when we recorded that podcast. And we had actually done a round of demos with him when we were on tour with White Reaper the previous fall. And so that was, I guess, our second lap. We demoed about 4 times before we got together with John to do pre-production. But yeah, there was most of the songs were airtight, and he brought the arrangements, the last 5%, 10%. But yeah, I mean, that's something that I'm pretty OCD about, is like the overall, and we all we all contribute ideas, and how that it's a very team-based effort when it comes to arranging the song. Right. But it's the kind of thing that keeps me up at night when it's not quite there yet, know. And I'm not satisfied with a song unless it rips in the room. Right. There's no kind of like, well, that's a good kind of basis, and we'll lay that down and put stuff on. Like, there's none of that. We go there to execute, and arrange the songs so that they kick ass live. Right. And then we record. That's our philosophy. You cover a lot of ground, like stylistically, in that genre, and I can't remember the name of the song. There's a song that goes into the thrash vibe, and then ends up almost on like this Floydian kind of like psychedelic space place, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, Hang Moon. Yeah. So I'm imagining that if you guys cut that shit like live, like on the floor, what you like, you've gotta have some time in the fucking jam room to like work it all out, Yeah, I mean, it's some of the songs stay in like a kind of stunted place for a while, and then you don't really know what to do with them, and then like, that song was one of those songs where we had like the first bit of it, we had the main verses and the chorus, and then we didn't really have a bridge, and then Ross was like, we need a vibe change, and I interpreted that as like, okay, let's I was having a good time writing thrash riffs, so I was like, let's do a breakdown, and then I had that kind of pretty outro thing that was completely unrelated, and I was like, well, what if we just tack this onto the end here? And I think that's one of my favorite kind of bizarro compositions of ours. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's funny because you're a fucking tremendous songwriter. Oh, like, thanks. You really are. Like, do people come to you like, hey, or do people like, hey, go write with this guy, or go write with Luke at this place or something? People have told me in the past that I should write like with other more established people, and I tell them to go fuck themselves. I mean for artists, okay. like an artist looking for like, hey, I need songs for my record. Oh, well, you should talk to Luke from the Dirty Nail. Well, that guy's got it going on. Well, I mean, this record has kind of other people have started reaching out in that vein. Really? It's a funny thing though, because I just it's tough to try and write for other people, because I can only like, it's something that I've begun experimenting with and working with other people on that kind of thing, but because of how I just learned how to do everything that I do musically in the context of playing with Kyle in particular. Like we started the band because we just wanted to have a band, but we were so bad at our instruments that no one else would have us in their band. And so I feel kind of uncomfortable about doing anything else other than in the context of with Kyle. So like this is like Metallica or something. Like you guys met at a young age,
This is
Yeah.
the band you started, and this is the band you're in. And what are you, 30 now?
I just turned 30. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So we started when we were 16.
Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah, and so you were coming up on this year's our 15th year as a band. So, yeah, it's been insane. I mean, I've played in other bands, like you know, my first tour that I did in the United States, I was filling in on guitar in another band, and I've played other people's music,
Sure.
and done, you know, help them out live. I've really liked that, but I've never really been able to comfortably write with somebody else. It's just, as I said, like the spirit of the band is really, you know, Kyle and I started the band. One of the reasons why we started it was because we were blowing shit up in the woods, and we had sustained a couple of minor flesh wounds, and we were like, we need to try something else, because this is getting a little dangerous. So that kind of spirit of like lighting off fireworks in the forest is kind of how we treat our music, and it's all the best experiences that I've had in the band are all those kind of intimate moments that, you know, we've shared with other people too, but of like of getting a groove together or some kind of musical moment together when we're just kind of make on the fly in the basement, where it's amusing how like sick it is. That's what the split. If I could live in a space forever, it would be that of just, you don't get to have that all the time.
No.
But that kind of like, we're kind of up to no good, but we're just doing this thing. I don't know if I'm doing a good job of drawing a parallel between those two things, but to me, they're intrinsically linked. But blowing shit up in the woods and
Sure.
rock and roll feels the same to me. And that's the feeling that I really strive for, and that's what keeps me going, keeps me wanting to write shit to bring that's going to get that feeling going.
Yeah. It definitely comes through in the music. There's bombast. It makes sense. Like when I read that you had opened for the Who before I heard your music, right? I got the thing and I read it and I was like, oh, they opened for the Who. And I went and checked it out and I was like, oh, I can see this. Like, was there any, I know a lot of times in those situations, those people don't even know you're there, but did Townsend or anyone get a chance to see the band or anything? Do you get to meet them? Well, this is a little bit of a context. I mean, one of the reasons why we started the band was the Who. Like, I mean, we're the first YouTube generation, so we grew up watching, discovering bands visually and, sonically. But that's why, I'd be like, oh, I hear a lot about this Cream band, and I would watch a video of Cream. I'm like, this sucks. They're just standing there. And then you'd watch the Who at the Rock and Roll Circus, just burying the Rolling Stones, and they're having fun and they're knocking the mics over, and that's why we started the band, because we saw that video and we're like, that's what we want to do. And so getting to open the Who was the biggest. Yeah, that's amazing. So the reason why I was asking before about the songwriting was because I feel like no matter what you do musically underneath, like whatever the band's doing, including yourself on guitar, no matter what's happening under there, there is like this pop sensibility and melody and kind of like existential life storytelling, Yeah. I mean, I think that, we grew up on much music and stuff and just the radio and hooks are what it's all about. If you're not putting in hooks, like what's the point? I mean, I think we've always been attracted to an earworm. And that's how we roll. And in terms of lyrics, like, I grew up on John Prine and, basically like classic laudable American country music. Wow. And that's what I remember, like
listening to Sweet Revenge on repeat on the tape cassette in my dad's car, and
Right.
laughing at the lyrics of "Please Don't Bury Me," and these funny lyrics about death. And that's, I think, the biggest inspiration. When I get into that place where I think I'm at least amusing myself or my bandmates with my lyrics, then I feel really good. I'm less of a that's the space that I kind of try and occupy, like maximum personality and humor. Humor, I think, is the most important the thing that I always try and consider, because life's funny.
Right. Have you ever heard this band called Material Issue?
No, I've not. Are they a good band?
They were a really great band. I think they only put out 2 records, but the singer, I think he committed suicide. But he was a great fucking songwriter, but your voice and delivery reminds me of him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
They're from the 90s, or?
They're from the early 90s, like 90, 91 kind of era.
Gotcha.
Material
I'll check
Issue.
them out. Material Issue.
Yeah. So where does the love of thrash metal come from?
Well, I think that it kind of just slowly made its way into our world, but I have to credit Ross a lot with that. When Ross joined the band in the beginning of 2017, so coming up on 4 years ago now, and when Ross joined, I think that he can, first of all, he's the best bass player in the world. He can play anything. If I bring it, the band really expanded at that point, because I could bring something quieter and he could do something, really pretty on top of it, or I could bring something more Motorheady and he could just, he's right there with me. And so we were listening to a lot of like first few albums of Metallica, especially Ride the Lightning. And then we started covering Hit the Lights. And we just started kind of getting into thrash, and kind of almost in a bit of a joking way at first. And then we're like, this is actually sick. And Ross is a big hardcore guy, and there's obviously a lot of crossover between thrash metal and hardcore. Yeah. So we were just listening to this kind of stuff in the van all the time, bands like Turnstile, and then we'd just go back to Slayer, but then we'd listen to, there's a band called Candy that we were listening to a lot, and just tons of, Ross is up to date on the most, like on all the new hardcore drop releases. So we're just constantly listening to that. And so big, awesome riffs were just kind of in our wheelhouse. And that's what we were listening to when we were rehearsing and getting the new Fuck Art stuff together. And so this I'd say our last album, Master Volume, was more kind of classic rock influenced, more like Queen and The Who. But Fuck Art is definitely more of a reflection of, it's got, I think, some of our more pretty moments that we've done, but at the same time, we were listening to Ride the Lightning constantly, and just really, really brutal breakdowns. Like it just became kind of a battle cry, and like an attitude, a thrash attitude that we developed. And as I said, I think there was also a positive feedback element that was subconscious. Like when we started covering Hit the Lights, how nuts people started going, and people thought that we wrote Hit the Lights, and we were very slow to make that correction, and a lot of cases didn't make that correction, but we saw that was a thing that people really dug that we were doing. So I think that also kind of seeped in, that it was also just a muscle that we had never flexed before, and in an exciting new place that we had never taken the band, playing thrash. So it felt really good. Yeah.
Those guys did that exact same thing when they started.
Because
they would play like a King Diamond song from like a deep cut, and not say anything about it, and just like, because they only had like a couple of songs or something when they first started.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it.
All right, so I want to get to to sort of like your whole life has been uprooted and changed completely, while there's a lot of people that live in a town and are part of a scene and kind of are a local or regional band. Your band was like doing over 300 shows in 3 years. Like, so you were on tour constantly. We were going to Europe and stuff too.
Yeah, Europe, Australia. Yeah, mostly the United States though.
Where in the States? Like all over the States?
All over the States. I mean, we never made it. We've not yet made it to Alaska or Hawaii, but everything else, we've either driven through or played. Just in the year of 2015 alone, we spent 6 out of the 12 months of the year playing in the United States. We did 3 full US tours that year, just in that 1 year alone. So we've done, and then every year after that, we've done at least 2 full US tours, at least 2, usually 3. But 2015, I think, was the most intense schedule that we had in the United States, because we did Warped Tour, and which is like 9 weeks. And then we did, a headlining tour 2 months. And then we did another support tour for 2 months. So we've done at least, as I said, 2 full US tours a year, which usually end up being 2 months, full US tour. So we spent a lot of time down there. I mean, we when we started coming to the States, we would only do the Northeast, but about 6 months after we started just doing these little regional tours, we did our first full US tour that we booked ourselves. And it was awesome. It was the first time I ever saw California. And growing up in Canada and, being indoctrinated into the mythology of rock and roll, one of the central ideas was, United States is the promised land, and that I still feel that way.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why we have, invested so much, put so much attention towards developing an American fan base, because it feels like you're kind of giving the thumbs up to your childhood self in a way that it doesn't quite. I mean, it's great to have fans everywhere, of course, but my favorite place to play is always going to be around the United States.
When you started when you started out, I'm just thinking about this song that on Fuck Art that's about that you don't do drugs anymore. I was just thinking about like being a band on tour, which I'm a musician as well. I'm a little older than you, but I spent the 90s like in a van in America, like just going, and what was it like when you were young going out there and doing like, what was 2015 like? Did you ever go off the rails? Did you ever go nuts?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I had the greatest time of all time. I mean, I'm so happy about the way that I've spent, or that I just feel incredibly fortunate, the life that I've been able to live up until this point. Our first tour that we ever did, we booked it ourselves. Again, no one would touch us. So we booked a tour to the East Coast of Canada. It was a 2.5 week tour. We played 4 shows. We rented a U-Haul van. Us and another band. There was 2 seats and then a metal cage, and the rest of it behind it is just all of us sitting around
on the floor.
On the floor.
Yeah, that's on my. Yeah. I did several tours like that around America.
With a 1/4 pound of weed and a Bob Marley flag flying in the windows, sleeping in Walmart parking lots, and like going to, being 18. I just turned 18, and we just went to like our first strip club and stuff. All this, just crazy shit. And then sleeping in the van, and anyways. That was my first experience touring, and I knew it was something that I really wanted to do for the rest of my life, or for the foreseeable future. And so, yeah, I mean, being a young man and playing in a rock and roll band, I had a really good time. I'm just also really thankful that I made the decision early on to write everything down, and I just have just tons of books of I write everything down. So I have a pretty decent record of everything, that all of the highs and lows of the road, which are really fun to reflect upon in the kind of quiet circumstances that I currently occupy.
That's amazing. Are you going to compile them into some kind of rock autobiography or tour journal book?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, like when I first started doing it, it was just like a way of kind of, I just felt like it was important to document this thing. And my dad really urged me. He's just like even though your band you're playing to practically no one, and like these are your years of struggle. Like if you eventually become successful doing this, you're going to want to, even if you stop doing this and become an accountant or something, you're going to want to look back on these things. So he really urged me to do it. But I mean, I think part of it is I just really, I had a vain and selfish, urge that I would one day be able to cash in on my memoirs if all went south. Right. Yeah, that was my initial feeling. But I've always just liked writing things down, and I like writing with a pen. Like it's not on my computer. The coolest thing about writing with a pen is that the funniest stuff, like the funniest one is the one from the Warped Tour. Like you could just see just the amount of dirt on the pages and the sweat kind of and the way I was pressing the fucking pen into the page, how pissed I was, I'm in Oklahoma, like it's great. So and then also between the pages there's like Polaroids and a pretty decent kind of little, I guess, like a scrapbook of my touring experience thus far. But I felt it was really, I read so many rock bios and stuff when I was a kid that I wanted to document my own experiences in the words of Guided by Voices, my own hunting accidents in the forests of rock and roll.
Right. It's funny, when I was coming up like that, there weren't rock bios, So, I mean, I definitely take them in now, but it's funny. There was a very, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, trip to my early tours. Like I remember our bass player in a band I was in one time, like in the back, right? And then like the guitar player's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm keeping a journal." He's like, "The fuck you are. Throw that shit out." Yeah. No one knows what happened when we...
Yeah, no, yeah.
I mean, most of it was just bullshit, like guys trying to score weed in Shreveport, Louisiana or something,
Yeah, just most of it is just like that. It's like, that's a lot of touring is there was a great meme that I saw the other day. And it was like, hey, how's tour? And it's just like this photo of some interstate like off ramp where you just see like the Waffle House thing and the Walmart sign and the McDonald's sign. Like that's what touring looks like. Yeah. Is just like never ending highways and just all these kind of major establishments, their signage. That's what tour. When I think about touring, the first thing that pops into my head is that. But it's the and somebody also described it well as hurrying up to wait. That's
oh God, that's a fucking, yeah, man. I'm 52 and I've been doing this since I was like playing places, like public places, since I was like 15, 16. Yeah. And just my whole life, I feel I've just been like, it's amazing. Like now with smartphones, imagine all the time, like without like you were literally just sitting in your fucking van.
Yeah, like talking. Yeah. There's always the problem with phones though is there's always a point where somebody on the tour gets frustrated that everybody's on their phones and but it rotates who's the frustrated, like, cause they're tired of their feed.
Right.
They start getting, shaming everybody else that isn't tired of their feed.
Right.
But I just imagine what it's like. Like, what was it like for the Ramones spent 20 fucking years in a van? Like, what was that like? Like, did they talk or was it just silent? I was probably pretty silent after Johnny stole Joey's girlfriend, but you know, in the years that preceded that, like, did they do? I have no idea. What did they talk about? I don't know.
I played a Warped Tour in like 1998. Like I played a few dates on it, but I met Johnny on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was he cool?
No, not at all.
No, not at all.
No, he was like the right wing.
Yeah, strange guy. Very strange guy.
I mean, he wasn't mean to us, but there was nothing like nice. I didn't want to keep hanging out with him after I was introduced. If that
I forgot to mention, when we played with the Who, I did get to meet Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey.
How was that?
It was awesome. I mean, you know, I was actually a little disappointed by how nice Pete was to me. I kind of expected him to tell me to fuck off, and that would have just like warmed my heart. But he was. I kind of cornered him because I was, you know, I was a little bit drunk and high, and it was my 27th birthday, and we'd finished playing in front of 50,000 people. I was on cloud nine, and I cornered him on. He was wandering out our backstage area looking for his guitar tech, Alan Rogan, rest in peace. And he had this. He was just like had this piece of paper with "capo?" question mark written on it. He was looking around for his guitar tech, and instead he saw me. I kind of got pinned up against the fence with him, and I'm just like, Pete Townsend, you're my favorite guitar player of all time. It's my 27th birthday, and I love you, and I love your band, and I just opened for you. And he like just verbal garbage coming out of my head, and he just turned to me. He's just like, well, I'm glad you're having such a nice day, and that's all he really said to me, and I pulled him in for a photograph, and then I noticed that Roger Daltrey was standing like this, and he was the guy in the car that pinned us against this fence. And then the photographer was just like, "Do you want to get in there, Roger?" And Roger goes, "No, I don't think he wants me in the photo. I think he just wants Pete." And I just screamed. I was like, "Roger fucking Daltrey!" And I grabbed him, and we all kind of had this photo, and they're laughing because I'm so hysterical and happy that I'm like, Pete. But anyways, that was my I have one more good rock star interaction story. We played a festival in 2019, the last year of concerts, and we played with the Foo Fighters, and we met Dave Grohl, and Ross, our bass player, said to Dave Grohl, "Hey, remember the time you went like this? That was awesome." He said that to Dave Grohl. So that's my favorite rock star.
Did Dave Grohl laugh?
He kind of didn't really. He was just like, "Thanks." Like, I think he thought he would just he had to like reboot his brain for a second. He was like, "Pew," like, but he was really Dave Grohl. His reputation is correct. He's an extremely gracious and nice guy.
Yeah, he seems like it.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes those guys aren't.
No, yeah. Sometimes they're real assholes. You know, it's but it's also like, I don't know. Sometimes people have caught me on a bad, like, I mean, people that really, I guess, you know, have cared a lot about our band, and sometimes I just feel like drained after a show or before a show, and you just don't want, you're just like trying to get in the zone of what you got to go up there and do, and people want to talk to you about your pedals, and you don't want to talk about your fucking pedals right now.
Right.
and but afterwards, I'm totally down. Like, it's I always try. I definitely remember as a kid, everyone, all the rock stars and people that I looked up to that were nice to me. And so I definitely try and be as nice as I possibly can, especially with kids and stuff. You know, you want to be encouraging, because, as I said, I think everybody remembers the people that they were nice to them when they were a kid. You know, so.
And the people that were mean to them.
Exactly. You really remember the pricks, right? Like where people said shitty things to you when you're a kid.
Sure.
But the ones that I choose to highlight in my mind are the ones that were really nice to me. And so you got to try and pay that forward, even if you're not feeling it, even if you're a little hungover, or whatever from the night before. You gotta summon up the courtesy of not crushing anyone's dreams.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just at the beach with my family for like a month in December, and my cousin and I were having like a late night talk, and she was talking about somebody who was a jerk, and she was talking about how she went up to try and talk to them, and they were fucking distracted and like kind of blowing her off, and all I could think was like, what if he had to poop?
Yeah, they're human beings.
I mean,
People
you know,
are-
what if what he was doing, like shifty eyed, not really looking at you, was like, where's the fucking bathroom? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's just a guy, you know?
He's just a guy. Maybe you just haven't found out a terrible piece of information. You know, it's just,
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe he just had a fight with his loved one or something.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I think that people have an expectation that like, you know, their relationship with a celebrity, like their appreciation is going to be like reciprocated,
Right.
which is just like delusional. It's just incorrect. So.
Well, it's like that funny feeling you have as a musician when you first go on a radio show and the guy is talking to you on the microphones like we are now, but he's like your best friend, right? And then the thing turns off, and when you're young, you're like, hey, so you want to grab a beer? And the guy's like, what? Like,
What are you talking about?
yeah, go.
Get the hell out of here. Yeah.
There's another guy coming
exactly.
in. That's going to be my best friend for the next 7 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. That's 100% true.
Hey, so Luke, you guys were living together on the road. You're in a van doing this for years. This is what I was getting at before. I'm going back to my original question. And now this has been ripped out from under you guys. And you made this record under quarantine, or finished this record under quarantine and stuff. Do you guys all live together?
We did basically for 3.5 years we lived together, almost 4 years. But at the last fall, so fall 2020, we had all turned 30, and we kind of had a conversation. We're just like, all right, boys, it's the house was really small, and we're all stuck in it together, and we just it was a miracle how well we got along and how much shit we got done. And but I mean, the band basically got to a point success-wise where we didn't have to live with each other.
Right.
And I always remember hearing a quote by Penn Jillette, and him saying that like him and Teller lived together in the early years, and he said they had an agreement that as soon as they didn't need to live together, that they were gonna not live together because it was in the best interest of both their professional relationship and their friendship. You know, you just have like 3 30-year-old guys living together, plus the singer of another band called the Glorious Sons, who are a big band here. But it was a lot of and we all had girlfriends and stuff, and they're all looking at us like, what are you guys doing? Like, you got this weird little clubhouse, you know, you guys get like, when are you going to join the real world? And so anyways, we had a series of we toasted the house out in style, but we no longer live together, but you know, we talk every day, and we but right now we're under strict quarantine, so we can't get together, but indoors or whatever. But you know, we're all best friends. So you know, we all needed to also kind of learn how to like be adults a little bit more, because I mean, being in a rock band and having an aggressive touring schedule.
Yeah, you're just a kid forever. Yeah.
You get to be Peter Pan, and you really don't have to. You get to just remain stunted as an individual. And the quarantine thing, not being able to tour, really highlighted the critical life skills that we were all lacking in terms of, you know, understanding how to cook food, even basically. Because when you're touring all the time, you come home for 2 weeks, you're like, whatever, I'll just order some food.
Right.
I'm not going to buy groceries. I'm only home for 2 months. Like,
right.
You know, and we lived across the street from a pizza place called Plaza Pizza, which was not the best pizza, but it was very close. So we bought it all the time. And anyways, we all kind of needed to spread our wings a little bit, I'd say. But nobody was like, it never we were all still getting along really well.
Yeah.
But I would say that everybody's everybody's blossomed in their own way since like having their own having the dignity of having some personal space.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's great that it hasn't, because even in your conversation that I listened to on the Born to Roam podcast with John Goodmanson, you guys talked about how it, like the difficulty of trying to start something now, how hard that would be, or trying to get into business now and make it some kind of financially viable thing. You know, at this point, it's very difficult to live in sort of that middle class of musicians where maybe you aren't on a big bus or whatever, but you can still sustain yourself. So my question is, you guys have like I mean, you have success as a band. You got like the Breakthrough Group of the Year Juno Award a few years ago. That's, I mean, is that a big thing happening? That's like winning Best New Band in the Grammys, right?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, we, the that whole thing was super funny because, when they were like, we got to go to the Junos, first of all, which was hilarious. It's a very prestigious thing up here. And, it's finally like we had a piece of currency that was held water with any company. We kept, like, I could tell my grandma.
Yeah, I was about to say your grandma. Yeah.
And they're like, what? Yeah. Like, I thought you guys sucked. Yeah. Like, what? Now you get to go hang out. So, we absolutely crushed it that weekend. We had so much fun. We when they were doing our award, they were playing, a sample of music from each of the nominees. And it was like, right. All this kind of really, really, I don't know, shitty music that I don't listen to. And then there was a crash of feedback, and everybody in the dining room winced and kind of ducked for a second, and it was playing our song.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and when we won, I said "Weed rules" into the microphone, and then back in my hometown of Hamilton, front page, "Weed rules" from Luke Bentham of the Dirty Nil. And my mom sent me a fucking essay about how disappointed she was for doing this and for squandering this opportunity, for saying something. And I was reading this so hungover. The night before, we were like drinking with Kiefer Sutherland. For some reason, we were hanging out with Kiefer Sutherland, and he was just hammered, and he was telling us why we shouldn't fall in love with women from Eastern Europe. Like, so he was on some weird diatribe, and we're just listening to him. He was making me show him how to do this move that I did when the camera came on me, and it was like this. It was like, oh yeah. He made me teach him how to do that, and so I'm hungover the next morning. Like, I don't fucking care what my mom has to say. And I considered my response to this whole thing, and I told my mom, "Listen, I love you, and thanks for paying for guitar lessons, but you can say whatever you want when you win your Juno."
Yeah, there you go.
But anyways, as reprisal for that, she stole my Juno, and she's holding it hostage. But
that's good.
Yeah, that was that.
It's a nice gift for her after the guitar lessons.
Indeed, and I had a shirt with a weed leaf on it, like a custom made shirt. And I took a photo with me and the Prime Minister of our country, and he's just like, "What's that on your shirt?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it, bud." And then I put my arm around him, and that was pretty funny.
Look at you. Luke, it wasn't a Juno, but I won an Austin Music Award with this band I was in called Mr. Rocket Baby. And the only thing we said when we won was "weed is cool." And then we walked off stage. Yeah, when you said that, I was like, "Oh wow, cool. Birds of a feather."
It's you gotta use the opportunity to push your agenda when you get that moment.
Yeah. So you put this record out on January 1st, and now what do you do outside of coming on weird people's shows like mine and your own?
Oh well, it's right now we're just as active as ever. About trying to basically figure out, tossing around ideas on how do we continue promoting this album. But we have a wild schedule together of making music videos in strange ways. We also have another virtual tour planned where we're linking up with venues across the world to kind of help put some money in their pockets.
That's fantastic.
Yep. And we green screen ourselves into their venue, basically.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So we've got a tour developing for that. And then basically in a recording contract way, we are now free agents and we have a bunch of new music. And so, it's open season. So we've definitely got an interesting year coming up. It's funny. Like, I do miss playing shows for sure, but I also really like being at home, learning how to cook and writing new songs and, I love touring. I've had a great time doing it, but I'm not sitting here missing it every day. Like, when we talk about it, I certainly have my romance feelings about it, and I look forward to it returning. But I'm writing songs and being productive and not sitting in a steel box for 8 hours every single day, like reading books and stuck in a van. Like, it's nice not being in a van. This is the first time I've watched the seasons fucking change in my hometown since I was 22. Like, so I'm enjoying this time. I'm not sitting here thinking about what I don't have. I'm also super fortunate, like we are, as I said before, there's lots of bands that I think I really don't know what they're going to do right now.
Yeah.
But we're fortunate enough that we have a strong team and a lot of momentum right now and a lot of internal drive to continue with whatever means we have available. So we were so busy last year figuring out how we were going to roll this album out and, bizarre promotional strategies and kind of basically how we were going to continue to prank the world and market an album called Fuck Art. So we were so busy with all that stuff that I just forgot about the whole fact that that we couldn't play shows. We were so busy that I was just distracted. So were all of us. That's the key, I think, right now, is to just move forward with whatever means you have available. And I know that's easier said than done for a lot of people, but you just have to distract yourself and be productive in ways that whatever you can. I mean, touring really prepared me, I think, for the mindset like that you're in jail. So you can basically you got to really focus your mind on trying to be productive while you're in jail,
right,
and you can exercise, you can read, you can write. You can't go where you want to go, but you've just got to basically I think that experience has prepared me for dealing with these kinds of circumstances and just changing gears and not dwelling upon the limitations of my situation.
Yeah. Quick side question. There's a note I got that said you were into guitars and you have a collection.
Yeah, hell yeah.
What do you got?
I mean, it's less of a collection and just kind of like it's not like, oh, I want one of those to kind of complete this set. It's just like, I'm just a guitar fanatic, I just have a pile of them. Well, right here, right before we started talking, got this sick ass 1957 model.
Fuck. It's an actual 57?
Yeah. It says TV model. Yeah,
dude. I love that.
It's beat up pretty good, but yeah, it's a really nice guitar. That's I'm a Les Paul guy mostly.
Check this out. My friend built me this guitar.
Oh, cool.
It's an SG Junior.
Wow.
Fucking awesome. Yeah. That's
wicked. I love that. I did almost the same thing with the Les Paul Junior double cut with the aluminum parts. I got this Les Paul Junior without any plastic or hardware on it. I traded a broken twin reverb for it. He gave me a broken Les Paul. And I did that same thing where I got all the plastic parts replaced with aluminum parts. But,
awesome.
That's at our jam space. Yeah, I'm a pretty big Gibson guy. I got let's see what else I got here. I got
you hear about this stuff, man.
I love this guitar.
Oh, that's sweet.
I bought this guitar new. It's Les Paul, and it's beat to hell now. It's custom.
Yeah.
But it's my second favorite guitar, And then I really like this 335.
Sweet.
I do all of our. We got a bunch of songs in Open G. So I play all G songs on this one. That's my favorite guitar is still being repaired right now. I got a 75 white custom. It's like almost like it's a nicotine white though. So the guy that owned it must have smoked a lot because it's really yellow.
Like what Randy Rhoads played?
Exactly like that, yeah. So it's got same year too, I think, or maybe 1 year later. But somebody put a Rolling Stones tongue sticker on it and probably peeled it off 10 years later. So it's white. It's got a white Rolling Stones tongue on it too.
Cool.
It's just it's my favorite guitar, but it's the neck was coming out of it, and I sent it to like the best guy, this guy named Greg Platzer, who does like Ted Nugent's guitars and Paul McCartney's guitars and stuff. But he was a fan of our band, so I asked him if he'd do it, and he's like, hell yeah. So.
Can you imagine those guys running into each other in the lobby of the guitar shop? Ted Nugent and Paul McCartney?
Yeah,
like the militant vegetarian and the militant kill your own meat
Wang
guy.
Dang, Wang Dang Sweet Poontang himself. Yeah, that's an awkward dinner right there.
Wango Tango.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Do you guys have a recording space that you do stuff in? Is that at your jam space or whatever?
We just have this concrete box of a jam space that we do like all of our kind of blasting away together. But then we have a really close friend who lives down the street who we demo with, and we do all of our kind of like our when we do covers and stuff, we'll do them with him. But he's also our publicist, and he's the longest lasting member of our team. We met him when we were 20, so we've been working with him for 10 years now.
Wow.
And he's kind of our band guru. And so we do all that recording with him.
What's it like? Like, is there a scene? What's the scene like in Toronto? Was that the scene you guys were part of when you started playing? And
I would say so. I mean, like there was like a bit of a Hamilton scene, but like Hamilton's 500,000 people. It's not quite enough people to have. I mean, there was like, it just seemed like there was a great scene right before we got there. And a lot of that had kind of petered out a bit in Hamilton by the time we came of age to play shows. Like early 2000s, there seemed to be like a really cool punk scene in Hamilton, and house show scene too, which had seemed to kind of recede a bit by the time we were, as I said, of age. So we just went to Toronto basically, and we had a kind of a cohort of bands that we rolled with and cut our teeth with in Toronto mostly, and really learned what to do. Like, do you know the band Pump? Have you heard of them? They were a band that we were really close friends with, and they kind of wrote the book on how to break out of your local city and start really making an impact and getting a fan base together. So we just kind of followed what they were doing. But we definitely had a really good group of bands that we were rolling with when we were kind of 21, 22. And then a lot of those bands, most of them, they just stopped, unfortunately. So.
Are you into, have you ever heard of this band Saga?
No.
They're Canadian.
I've seen the name. Like I've definitely seen their name on like in a used LP bin.
Yeah. I bet there's a lot up there. Yeah. I was just wondering. I wondered like how prevalent and how classic that music would be there. Like, do people talk about Triumph still up there?
I was just thinking about Triumph because I had an early sneak peek at there's a Triumph documentary coming out. But,
no shit.
I didn't really know Triumph. I couldn't picture them, put it that way. But I've heard like "Lay It on the Line" and
right.
I've heard those songs before, but I didn't know how big they were. Like watching this documentary blew my mind. Like the footage of them playing at the US 83 festival or
Oh,
whatever.
at the US Festival. Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah, man. They played in front of like 150,000 people, man.
Yeah, and they fucking crushed it too.
Totally.
Like they're actually like a really good band. I didn't know they were a 3-piece either. Like, it doesn't sound like a 3-piece, but they are a very good 3-piece.
Have you guys always been a 3-piece?
We were a 2-piece actually originally, and that's why I have a bit of a disdain for 2-pieces, because I was in a 2-piece. The Nil was a 2-piece, and I constantly have fucking problems with my pedals, and it always sounded like shit. Like, yeah, everyone's like, you get this pedal, this octave pedal, and you can make it sound like a bass. Doesn't sound like a bass, buddy. I promise you. You know what it sounds like? Fucking shit. So when we got a bass player, we were almost going to stop the band when we were a 2-piece, because I was just so sick of like playing live sucked. Like, it was just like I couldn't, like, you didn't get any moment to actually just rock and roll and do some cool shit and have some fun and windmill. Because I was the only melodic instrument. I constantly had to play. The songs were becoming more complicated and less fun to play. And then finally it was just like, well, the only way that we can continue is if we get a bass player. And so we started playing with our friend Dave, who's a super talented guitar player, and he started playing bass, very like power chordy style. And it was like, now we've got a band. Once we had a bass, it was really.
I was going to say, because there's something. So you've never had a 4-piece.
No, I'm just not the best. Like, I mean, we tossed around ideas about maybe having another touring guitar player at some point. But I was like, fuck that.
I mean, I could see how that you would. I mean, just to round out the sound, but I also understand keeping it, because there's a certain amount. There's a certain communication that happens in that triangular setting for some reason. Like you can communicate and go places in the moment with 3 way more than you can adding one more person. And I've always wondered what it is that keeps that up. Is it literally the line of sight? Because I remember I had a trio for a while, and that was it was adventurous. Like, we did things. We didn't always play shit the same exact way, Yeah.
Well, I think that one of the funnest things, most inspiring things to be about rock and roll is limitation, and not, I have 2 pedals, and they're both Rat pedals. That's all I use. I'm not like if I want to make an effect, it's me bending the neck of the guitar or something like that. Limitation has always been an important creative thing for me. And so, I have played in a band with 2 guitar players, and I liked it because it was like another guitar player who I also really respected. We both are fucking good. So It was like, we had a good time playing together, and we were playing music that we both really liked. It was just a great situation where I called it the rock and roll fantasy draft. We had just a really good band at that point, but it was to go fulfill some touring dates in Europe at like Reading and Leeds festival. So it wasn't just it was like what Ross would call a porn star tour. It was just fun.
Yeah.
There was and it wasn't our band, so it didn't really matter even if it did.
That's fucking rad.
So it was the best. So that was the only time I did that right after I had done the Warped Tour. So it was a really nice change of circumstances, going from the muddy fields of Oklahoma and rural Florida to Reading and Leeds Festival.
Yeah.
But anyways, I just, in terms of guitar, like I think that part of the fun of, as you said, of like kind of doing it at the 3 of us is that it forces you to just do interesting kind of things together to create your own dynamics and sound. And I think at this point, as I said, my development as a guitar player has occurred having complete control over the guitar frequencies and covering both rhythm and lead, that I think that it would be very clumsy and challenging. It would be like having a third leg to run with.
Right.
It's like it's just gonna get in my way. Like if I really think about it, I just don't know what we'd get another person to do because unless they would be playing and I would stop playing.
Right. Right.
The guitar, like the there's so much thought so much of our effort goes into arranging songs so that the three of us can make the maximum impact that we never really seriously considered adding another guitar player.
Yeah. Man, you don't need to. Well, dude, the record's great, man, and I really enjoyed the podcast. And people can find you guys at thedirtynil.com. You have a Patreon that I mentioned very briefly earlier, but it's the Millionaires Club. Yeah. And there's a lot of ways to connect with you guys out there. The record's fucking great. You're a great songwriter and such an amazing singer and guitar player. Yeah, man, really.
I appreciate that. We're having fun, and we're just so happy that people are digging it. And as I said, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, man. I hope that things open back up. You get to come back to America, because I live in Austin, Texas. I don't know if I said that, but I
fucking love Austin, Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys, you did South by, I'm sure, at some point.
We've done it three times or so, but the first time we ever played in Austin, we played it at Beerland.
Yeah, baby. I think it's gone now. Beerland is gone.
I think it's gone.
Yeah, sadly.
But yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was a great time. My God.
Yeah, man. Well, I look forward to seeing you guys in real life. It's really been a pleasure, and people should check out your podcast, Born to Roam. I guess you don't have like a real schedule of release. You do like once a month or something.
Yeah, we're working on a couple new episodes right now, but it's kind of like, just for people that don't know, Born to Roam is like basically, I mostly talk to people about touring or other musicians. And our last one was I talked to Laura Jane Grace from Against Me, and I've got some really cool new episodes coming up.
Cool, man.
And our Patreon is our we call it the Millionaires Club, and it's kind of just it's exclusive access to old, like, as we've been a band for 15 years,
right?
We're sitting on a ton of stuff. So if you're interested in the band, check that out. And other than that, listen to our record, Fuck Art. It's fucking all the
great.
grandmas coming up. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'm glad you dig it.
Yeah, well, it's been a real pleasure talking to you, Luke, man.
Likewise.
Yeah, good luck with everything.
Thanks, you too, soon, and man. We'll see you over a crispy Tecate or whatever. Whenever possible.
Yeah, that'll be great. Nice meeting you, man.
Yeah, take care, Johnny.
You too, buddy.
Question number 1: did you have fun? Did you reel the big one in? Question number 3: it don't matter to me.
All right, that was Luke Bentham. I hope those of you here that are normal listeners or regular listeners got to get exposed to a cool new band, and those of you that came because you're fans of the Dirty Nil, hope you're fans of a new show. Great talking to Luke. What a fantastic artist. You can find them at thedirtynil.com. You can join their Millionaires Club by going to thedirtynil.com and finding their Patreon, and check out their album, Fuck Art. Fantastic record, available now. And also his podcast, Born to Roam. Talking about touring, talking about making music. Kind of like this show, which is good. There should be more of these shows. All right? And actually, while you're out there checking out thedirtynil.com, don't forget that you can subscribe to How Did I Get Here, this podcast, wherever it is that you stream podcasts, be it Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Overcast, Stitcher, wherever it is, you'll get new shows all the time, man. I'm dropping 3 shows a week right now, probably next week as well, and then I'll probably go back to the normal 2 shows a week, all right? So thank you so much for listening. Let's hear the rest of this tune from Fuck Art. The album available from The Dirty Nil. Go to thedirtynil.com. Have a great week, whatever it is you're doing. Let's get down.
Out alone and in the crowd. How do your phantoms treat you now? And question number 1: did you have fun? Did you reel the big one in? Question number 3: it don't matter
I suppose you're going to put that on the next record, you little pissant.